Live. We are live. Oh my goodness.
Hello.
Um, and we've been planning this for a while, but I'm excited today. How are you, Jenny?
I am great today.
All right. Not too much of formalities, but we're here today to kind of talk about Restore. So this is an event that we have coming up in a couple of weeks, June 27th. And it's a virtual wellness event. And the main thing behind this is that I personally spent 2 decades, oh my God, in
Oh, wow.
industry. And then, I've also met women who have spent upwards of 10, 15 years. And it's become almost commonplace for a lot of us to have health related things from just
Mhm.
being a woman in STEM or a leader or an entrepreneur because it's just so much stress and pressure. And the interesting thing is that I just kind of started thinking about how our life used to be. You know how normally if you're sick and you have an actual diagnosis, like you have the flu or you broke your leg or something like that, it's very easy to say, I have a flu, I broke my leg, and I can't
Correct.
make it into
Yeah.
the office. But everything else that was harder to explain was more like almost as if you're imagining it. So we never really had the opportunity to take time for the things that mattered, at least not until COVID, that we realized that your mental wellness is also part of your wellness. And,
Right.
it does affect your
Great.
life, right?
It does. Very much so. Very much so.
What
Yes.
has been, yeah, I mean, we're going to introduce ourselves, but I mean, I'm right in what I'm saying, right? I'm sure we also work with professionals and entrepreneurs too, right? And you've kind of seen that happening.
I have seen that I have seen that a lot. And you're right. If you have something that's very obvious, then people understand. Oh, there's the broken leg. I get it why they're not maybe moving so quickly. But when you have some things that are going on that weigh you down or hold you back or just are an extra part of what you need to handle in order to function, but it's not obvious, it leads other people to not understand, but also for ourselves, it leads us to feel like I'm not doing a good enough job or I'm not keeping up with what I need to because I don't have a broken leg. So I should be able to move just as fast as everybody else when
Yes.
maybe that's true and maybe that's not true. It's just not something that's so physically obvious.
So before we keep going, we're going to introduce ourselves. So I am Adeze Ileje Udogalaya, the founder of African Women in STEM. And African Women in STEM is a professional network for women in STEM. And basically, what we focus on is helping women go from experts, which is what we all are, really good at what we do, exceptional in so many ways, to being very impactful leaders. And our mission is basically to help people to live, have great careers and live good lives. And the life part is what we're talking about right now.
Right.
Because once upon a time, I used to think, and I believe that most people thought the same thing. We kind of put our lives in silos where your health is a different silo, your personal life is a different silo, and your work life is a different silo. And we did not recognize the fact that they interacted and impacted each other. So we're going to have that conversation here today. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself, Jenny, as well. And we can go on
Okay.
with this conversation.
My name is Jenny Starosta. I am a clinical psychologist, and one of my specialties is in working with founders and leaders in helping them understand and, I guess, accommodate the particular stressors that they have so that they can thrive, so that they are able to achieve the things that they set out to achieve and not lose themselves along the way. And because, just as you were mentioning earlier, sometimes the things that do get in the way are not quite so obvious as a broken leg or the flu. Those are things that often go unnoticed, and that, leaders and particularly women really have to understand and take note of in order to not just be held down by those things.
Yeah, I agree. And I like what you said about not losing themselves because we, especially high achievers, which we're going to talk about that too, we tend to lose ourselves. Um, And it's kind of interesting because I remember, I don't know what I was doing. I would do some kind of research a couple of years ago. I don't know whether it was pre or posts, whatever issues I had. But I came upon this book that is called The Body Keeps Score.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of interesting because a lot of times when people are talking about like meditation and things like that, I mean, I started hearing the word woo woo and all of those things. It almost
Right.
seemed like anything about wellness was not grounded in science. And it just made sense because I remember when I was in college, my mom, around exam time, she would always have me come back home and take like a lot of provision snacks and everything because she's like,
Mm-hmm.
mental stress is actually way worse than physical stress. And more so because we don't pay attention to it. Like we're studying, so I mean, how tired can I be versus I was, chopping wood. Of course, I'm definitely tired, but I think the same thing applies. But the whole concept of um, when you have certain stressors, that are not necessarily physical, they can get stored in your body and manifest themselves in like physical or illnesses. So can we talk about
Right.
that a little bit more?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And you brought up a very good point, which is that sometimes those mental stresses can be more difficult than the physical ones. Because if you think about the physical ones, I have to deal with this physical stressor, a a thing that is personally challenging. I
Mhm.
there is a decision that has to be made with my business, and or we're looking for investors, and we have to get investors or not get investors. There are actual concrete things that tell you that either you're still in danger or the danger is over, and that gives you and your body cues about. And so then I can rest, or then I don't have to be stressed anymore because we got the investment or we've made the decision. So now
Mhm.
that stressor is over. But when it is something that is not so clear, when those stressors are sort of more ongoing, there's no cue to your body that, or to your brain, that, you know what, that danger is past, that stressor is over, so you can stop reacting like this is a stress, a
Mhm.
situation. And so that just kind of builds up a great fatigue in having to just maintain that, to put it in extreme, to sort of maintain that fight or flight. We don't
Mhm.
realize that the danger is gone. So our body still stays in that stressed state.
You said something about danger being gone, and I started thinking about workplaces. And I remember during COVID, there was this study that came out that they said, I think it was right before, so 75% of American workers are unhappy at work. And there's also this study that talks about that people don't leave workplaces, they leave bad workplaces, they leave bad bosses. And so now that you say something about, the stress of going away, I kind of wonder if you're in a toxic work environment
Hmm.
where you're always in a, even if the stressor is not there like 100% of the time, but because you're anticipating the
Sure.
worst, I'm thinking that that's also something that can make you be in that state forever, really, and without you realizing it. So my question to you now is, this is for me is like an aha moment, okay? Because I
Okay.
mean, now that we know that it's possible that if you're in the wrong environment and for whatever reason you cannot move, because there's so many reasons why people can change jobs, that they stay in toxic work
Hmm.
environments for a very long time. What can we do, really? And I believe that the first step is right now that we're recognizing that that's a thing.
Absolutely.
But
Yes.
what can we do if you're still in this place, your boss is still bossing, your
Mhm.
coworkers are still co-workering or doing whatever they're doing, and you have to feed your family and pay your bills, and the option for you to change your environment are not immediate. What would be your advice on what we can do?
Well, there without being able to change, like you said, your boss is still bossing, your coworkers are still co-working, the situation still is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Things are so much worse when we don't exactly know what they are. I mean, imagine the first time you're watching a scary movie. You know there's going to be a bad guy or the scary thing that's going to jump out at you, but you're not quite sure where it is. And that just puts you on the edge of your seat. And, when the thing finally jumps out from behind the tree or it's chasing you or whatever, that is so scary.
Mhm.
If you were to watch that same movie again, it wouldn't be quite as scary because okay, well, here's the part where the bad guy jumps out or where the cat, scares us.
Mhm.
And if I were to ask you to watch that movie every day for a week, by the time you got to the end of the week, I'm not as scared by any of this because I know, okay, here's the bad guy and here's where they get away. And this is where she screams and stumbles. And this is where the cat jumps out. And so there's so much that helps it be not so intense and not so
Mhm.
scary when we are able to predict or understand what's going on. So the very first thing is to be able to recognize, okay, where are the boogeymen?
Mhm.
Where are those things? What are those things? So that when your boss is doing that boss thing that really is awful, it doesn't feel like it's just coming out of the blue and is unanticipated.
Mhm.
So being able to recognize and anticipate where those stressors are doesn't mean you can control them, but means that you aren't feeling like you're reacting. You're then being able to choose, okay, well, when my boss or my coworker does that thing that's so annoying or that switches, I can sort of have my wits about me and how I want to respond to that rather than feeling like, oh my gosh, like I just am reacting to whatever that thing
Mhm.
is.
Mhm.
And that just
And
gives you such a better position of, like I said, not necessarily control, but not
mhm.
feeling that you are the victim either.
Mhm. I'm just kind of thinking of how that will work because I understand the knowledge of the movie of seeing it over and over again, but I also think, at least in my case, sometimes I think part of the reason why things kind of take me by surprise every single time is that I always give people benefit of the doubt. I was like, they can't be that
Right.
bad, and then they are, and I'm like, no, maybe not, and then they are. So does it have anything to do with just kind of completely accepting the situation in a
It,
way, or is it much more than that?
it is more than that. It is
Okay.
more than that. And to direct this more towards women, and in particular, sort of I don't know, high functioning, high achieving women,
Mm-hmm.
I think that, again, this is as a stereotype, but for women in particular, I think that there is a good deal of that women have been trained, socialized, prepped.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're gonna give it a few minutes. Hopefully, it's not me, and Jenny comes back. So this thing that we're talking about, which is how women are conditioned to react or act in certain situations in the workplace, is kind of interesting because I was just writing about that today. And it's not, sometimes we tend to think that it might be something that happens in a particular culture, say, for example, if you're African or if you're Latina. But I have realized, which is one of the benefits of living in the United States, is that you get the opportunity to actually work with and meet and interact with people from all parts of the world. And I work with women a lot, in the work that I do with African women in STEM, because I do a lot of programming for women in STEM in general. And then even in my life as a founder and entrepreneur, I also tend to interact with a lot of women. And I realized that this is not really just for one culture, but it kind of cuts across cultures where women are conditioned to live, act, talk in a certain way. And for better or worse, that kind of impacts how we show up in the workplace. I'm going to give you an example. I worked in this place. This woman ended up being promoted to a position where, for the most part, she was over a lot of the practice, right, and had a lot of men reporting to her. But the reality is that when she gets into meetings with these men, because it was still I'm a woman in STEM, so I work in a male-dominated industry. So you're likely going to find more men than women in organizations and in companies. Even though in that room she may only have one person that she actually reports to, no more than two, but she still has to watch what she says, how she says it, play in her mind how it's going to come off, because there were so many egos in the room that she had to manage. And this can bring on so much stress on us. You can imagine when you walk into a meeting, your colleagues are just having conversations because you're having conversations. But before you have a conversation, you have to process it through every single lens that's in the room before you can even open your mouth and say what you want to say, because you don't want to step on any toes. And then if you don't speak up, then you also get the feedback that we don't think you can handle being in rooms like this. So I don't know what Jenny was exactly going to say, but I kind of feel like that in itself makes it pretty challenging to be able to handle um, not being impacted by your work environment, because it's just so much that you're dealing with, and it's one of those things that we have to think of as high functioning women, high achieving women, ambitious women who are going to find ourselves in places that we really want to be in, but they're not set up for us to survive. So this is something that you have to think about, play it in your head and figure out how you're going to act in those situations versus reacting. And as I was saying this thing, I thought of another example. A friend of mine told me that she also is an executive at her firm, and something happened at a meeting. And as usual, it was a male-dominated space, so somebody said something, and it was, again, it wasn't a light issue, but she really got upset by that. One of the lucky things that she had is that she had a coach, and she had been intentional about having a coach, and having a coach that will help her navigate the spaces that she found herself in after she was promoted in senior leadership. So she took this issue to her coach, and basically her coach was like, "And so what?" And she's like, "I don't think you understand. This is what happened. This is how it happened. This is," and I was like, "And then so what?" Right? So she ended up being getting feedback, so that by the time she went back, basically what she changed was just her attitude and the way she showed up in the room and how she allowed things to impact her. And everybody could feel it and they respected that. So welcome back, Jenny. I was
Thank you.
trying to what do you call it? Imagine what you were going to say.
Yes. Okay.
I kind of go off on that, but I'm pretty sure because I'm not the expert. I did not say what you were gonna say. So I'll let you finish your thought, because we're still talking about high achieving women and ambitious women and kind of how this
Right.
impacts them. And I try to
Yes.
put my own 2 cents, which is just my own two
Well,
cents.
okay. So I think that what I was going to say was that, the high achieving women who feel that they have to that they always have to have sort of peak performance, or who are maybe people pleasers, feel like they have to say yes to things that they really don't um, that they really don't want to say yes to. I think that tendency to do those things comes from, our training and our interactions in the social world, that it feels like we have to be just one step, don't rock the boat, don't um, you have to prove yourself.
Mhm.
And that with that, the fatigue, the emotional stress, the exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix, all of those things that kind of go into that, it really comes from underneath all of that is a little bit of shame that we've been taught, like, if you're not perfect, then you're not good enough. Or
Mhm.
if you are not pleasing somebody else, or not smoothing the waters, if you're rocking the boat, then you are causing trouble. And we have learned to protect ourselves by saying yes. And we have learned to protect ourselves by achieving higher and achieving more. And in addressing that, to just say, no, I'm not going to say yes to all of those things or to do all of that stuff. If we haven't recognized that little bit of shame that goes along with that, then we're not going to be able to figure out how to make it different.
I know. And I just want to bring this up because, again, there's always this thing about back to what we're culturally inclined to do, which is
Right.
even when we begin to recognize these things, we always put it off because there's something much more important for us to focus on. So I'll
Right.
take care of this tomorrow. I'll take care of this next tomorrow. I'm saying this because that was me.
Mm-hmm.
Even I was just telling someone last week because I did have to take time off work, but even in the worst of times when I could barely get up, I was still thinking, I have to finalize this project, I have to round up this thing, I have to do this one thing. So what can you say to women, especially women in STEM or women in leadership, or even women entrepreneurs who have a business that they're running and thinking, if I leave this, who's going to take care of it? What are the kind of consequences of just not taking action or beginning even now to do whatever we need to do to take care of this fact, to make sure it doesn't, like, because again the body keeps score,
Right.
to make sure it
Right.
doesn't get to a point where it's now out of our hands and we don't have a choice.
I think the one thing that women need to really learn and internalize is that their level of functioning, their wellness, that is their superpower.
Mhm.
The women's intelligence and decision making and knowledge and experience and wisdom, everything that they contain, that is their superpower. And we've sort of fallen prey to, yes, what I need is going to go second, and I'm going to take care of this thing first, and I'm going to take care of this other stuff. And we kind of come from maybe this adolescent place of, I'm strong, I'll just get through it. I'll just work harder, right? I'll just get a little
Mhm.
less sleep, or I'll take care of myself next week, next month,
Mhm.
next after this project, whatever it is. And what we fail to understand with that is that you are whittling away at what makes you most impactful.
Mhm.
So the less that we are able to, if we're not able to balance and take care of ourselves, then you're letting the very thing that makes you so important and critical and powerful, you are sort of letting that battery dwindle. You're
Mhm.
kind of your very best tool.
Yeah, I agree. And we have, like I said earlier at the beginning of this, a wellness workshop coming up called Restore. And the whole premise behind this is for, again, because I had to leave corporate America because my body basically said, there you go. But in the last 2 years, I've actually had a chance to talk with a lot of women, because it kind of seems like when something happens to you, all of a sudden you start attracting, or maybe because I talk about it, and people feel more comfortable to be open about their own experiences. And I actually went online and started typing stuff, and I saw in some places where they begin to say that this is almost like an epidemic, where women go into the workplace well and they leave sick
Mhm.
because of all the stresses that they carry in their body over decades, and
Right.
they don't do anything about it. And it's a real thing. Like, I've met a lot of people that have had to take time off, and thankfully, because after COVID we now know that your mental wellness is important. So the whole thing about this is we're going to have this experience where we'll have a facilitator give us tools to use narrative therapy to kind of heal ourselves.
Hmm.
And then, but beyond that, because it's going to be an incredible full day of experience, you're not listening, you're actually taking action and learning things. But beyond that, I was thinking that people will get all this wonderful, incredible experience and tools, but we also know that for it to work, we need support.
Right.
So beyond that, we're going to have wellness circles, and you will be leading one of the wellness circles as well. And I'm excited about that. So, can you tell us a bit about what to expect?
Sure.
When we come and talk to you, because my goal with you being there and other practitioners that we're going to have beyond that is that the women are exposed to like a holistic, I don't know how to put it, something more holistic and options for wellness,
Right.
and knowing that there are people there to support them, and having this community and these practitioners and these experts that can tell them what they really need to do. So can you give us a little bit of
Yes.
about
Yes.
what
Yes.
you're going to do for us? Yeah,
Yeah.
beyond Restore.
Well, as I sort of talked about before, like I think the very first step is being able to recognize, being able to see what it is that might be going on. But that's only like the very first step. It's like, okay,
Mhm,
well now I've recognized like the danger that's out there. Now I have to know what to do about it.
mhm,
So I think that what women can, or what people who are attend can expect from this is one, to be able to help them notice those like little sneaky places where this may be impacting them, but then also on several different levels, how to help themselves disperse, let go of, or recover from this, some of these stressors that they've been under. I
mhm,
think that a lot of us have heard a variety of things, right? We need to prioritize sleep. We need to make sure that we are hydrated and we eat healthy foods, and we, maybe we do some breathing exercises. And all of those are good. But I think that a lot of times people try some of those things and they say it's not working. It doesn't work. But I think that the problem is that, if I am doing some of these things, you've got to do the right tool for the right time.
mhm,
If I'm absolutely panicking because I'm being chased by a bear, no amount of breathing exercise is going to help me feel better. I have to deal with that crisis and get
mhm,
to a level where, okay, now Mary, the bear is gone. Now I have to calm myself down. Okay, perhaps a breathing exercise will work then. Now the bear is gone. Now I've calmed down. Now is the time when maybe these some other strategies might work. So
mhm,
being able to have like a much clearer idea of, okay, what's your level of stress, and then what interventions are actually going to work on that level of stress,
mhm,
until you can notch down to, okay, well, we're sort of in a level that's a little bit lower, or now we're in the maintenance, right? Okay, getting enough sleep is going to be good long term, but it's not going to
mhm,
help you get through that very uncomfortable conversation with a colleague, or the toxic work situation, or whatever. And a situation where really you are fighting off panic and sort of acute stress is not going to be the same as that ongoing, I just know I've got this deadline and this sustainable level of work that has to
mhm.
happen. So really being able to give people some tools for all of those different levels, so that they're not trying to solve the problem with the wrong tools.
I love this. And I'm really excited right now because I've never thought about it that way, but it makes sense. When you said, the whole thing about something not working, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me. And now it makes sense why it's not working, because you might be using a wonderful tool, but maybe out of order.
Right.
So
Right.
it would have made sense if you did in the right order. So Jenny is going to help you figure out how to do it
That's
in the
right.
right order. And I'm really
Yes,
excited
yes,
about that
yes.
because all these tools are critical, they're important, they're useful, but when used right. Basically, that's what you're
Yeah.
saying. Oh my God,
Yeah.
it seems so simple, but I did not know that until I spoke to you right now. So we've come to the end of this itty bitty little thing, but I'm so excited. We just wanted to talk to you a little bit more about what we're doing, and
Good.
sharing that information, and showcasing Jenny here, because she's going to be one of the facilitators for the wellness
Yes.
circles, and I'm so excited about that.
Me
So today,
too.
yeah, I am, and I'm more excited now that you told me how you're going to help me. Okay, because forget about everybody else. It's about me. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I'm
Yes. Yes.
selfishly thinking about myself. So to get your tickets for the Restore workshop, go ahead and click on the link here is link.africanwomeninstem.com backslash forward slash. I never know which one it is. Forward slash restore. So that's the link on here. We're going to leave it also in the comments below this. And we look forward to seeing you on June 27th. And afterwards, you're going to meet Jenny and all other practitioners that we have lined up for you from now to the end of the year. So, do you have
Yes,
anything
I'm
else that
so
you want to
excited.
say?
No, just that I'm very, very excited about this. And I think that, yeah, as you've mentioned, the part of it is like what we do for ourselves in order to help ourselves with all of this, but it is also being able to support each other. So I am
Mhm.
so excited that you're bringing together so many women to help and support each other with all of this. So
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I
yeah,
am so excited. So go ahead and get your tickets. Don't miss out. So this is like an incredible full day of narrative healing, and then beyond that, 6 months with incredible people like Jenny, who are going to help you be well holistically.
yes.
So look forward to seeing